On my dignified and I must say very stately journey to Prague, I stopped at a little hostelry in the countryside. I checked in at midnight, tired and weary after a long journey. There were two guys in the bar having some schnapps, slimovitz, some beers and a snack of dumplings. I entered, went to bed and checked out at 6 a.m. They were still there, having a last one. I'm gonna like this place. Drive on, Dziewski. Prague is the capital of the Czech Republic, and thanks to being spared the ravages of war and the bulldozers of redevelopers, the centre is a stunning historical monument to 1,000 years of architecture, from Gothic and Romanesque through to the modern hotels that have sprung up to accommodate the rush of visitors. One of the most famous spots here is Wenceslas Square, a former horse market and a gathering place for the city's people. It has been witness to both the struggle and celebration that has accompanied the city's recent turbulent history. 21 years after communists took a stronghold here in 1948, Jan Palach, a philosophy student, burned himself to death here in protest against the Soviet occupation. It was another 21 years before the square saw much rejoicing. It was only in 1989 when the Czechs staged their Velvet Revolution that brought the end of over 40 years of communist rule. And this once sombre place now wears the gilded face of capitalism, something which the youngsters of the country have picked up and run with like Olympic sprinters. But it's left the older people a little bit bewildered, a bit mystified, and possibly a little sad. In the heart of the city, you'll find the Old Town Square, which dates from the turn of the last millennium. On first sight, it really does take your breath away. These incredible buildings make it look more like a fairy tale film set than real life. However, I'm going to have to crack the whip and interrupt the director's moody architecture shots because I've got some cooking to do. Virtually every cafe, every bistro, every restaurant, every hotel serves one classic Prague dish, and that is a goulash. It varies from a spicy Irish stew to tough bits of meat and spicy tomato sauce, to quite an excellent, sophisticated stew. I'm going to try and improve on even that. So, first of all, I'm going to fry some lovely bits of smoked fatty bacon, along with some chopped onions and some garlic. Now that needs to sweat away so the onions are soft, the garlic is soft, and little bits of bacon are nicely cooked. Meanwhile, I'm going to make some dumplings, which, now you cannot escape dumplings in Prague. They can be apple dumplings, they can be bacon dumplings, onion dumplings, potato dumplings, and they too vary from being quite tasty to the sort of thing you could have repulsed Napoleon with at the Battle of Waterloo. Doesn't matter though, they're very nice. So, salt and flour. All the ingredients I bought for this sketch came from one of Britain's leading supermarkets that has a damn great hypermarket just on the edge of town. Hold on, just give that a little stir. I'm going to add some chopped tomato into there now, Mike. Some tomato, that's very important. Right, meanwhile, back with my dumplings. Right, now into the dumpling mix goes zest of lemon, quite a lot of it, some chopped parsley, and some freshly chopped sage. Some chopped onion, and some little partly fried fatty bacon pieces. And we just mix it all together, roll it into little balls in the flour, like that. Leave those to cool, it's cold enough here, and then we'll steam them. But I can't be bothered to do that, so I'll get Sean to make the rest of those up. Give that another good mix before we go, Sean. Now in here, we're going to fry some wonderful beef. Once the meat is sealed, we take a couple of moments, we'll tip them into this one here. And now add one of the essential ingredients, some paprika. And depending on how hot you like it, you add as much or as little as you like. I like it quite hot. And so I'm even going to add a couple of chilies. Then a load of parsley. some bay leaves, and then a drop of tomato puree, not too much, and then finally some good, very nice, strong Czech beer. That's that. The lid goes on. That'll take about an hour, simmering gently, and the steamed dumplings will take 30 to 40 minutes. And that's it. A tasty, gutsy, spicy beef goulash and rib-sticking bacon and onion dumplings. The city is split in two by the river Vltava. Crossing it is one of the most famous landmarks in Prague, Charles Bridge. Started in 1357, it took 50 years to build. Its survival is attributed to the fact that eggs were added to the mortar to make it stronger, making this possibly the biggest and most visited omelette in history. If you happen to be a turkey, then Prague is the place to spend Christmas, because here the locals celebrate their festive season with fish, and more specifically with carp. Just before Christmas, there'll be barrels of live carp on virtually every street corner here in Prague. Locals will come by, haggling for them, taking them home in buckets or plastic bags, and maybe even keeping them in the bath until they're required on Christmas Day. And since the country has no coastline, fish farming has been popular here for 800 years, and remarkably, methods have changed barely at all since then. Travel about an hour and a half south of Prague, and in the autumn, you'll see an extraordinary sight. These huge stretches of water around Trebon are completely man-made. During the autumn months, sluice gates are opened and the lakes drained, which concentrate the fish into a small, shallow area. A long net is lowered from these boats and slowly dragged across the pool, while people beat the water surface to herd the fish into the center of the net. As the net is dragged across the pool, the water begins to boil with thousands of fish. Once it fills with carp, I can tell you the work gets really hard. The net gets heavier, and the people at each end strain through the mud to keep it moving. This is a brilliant autumnal Czechoslovakian scene. Early in the morning, and it's quite medieval. In fact, these man-made lakes were first created between the 12th and the 15th centuries. There are over 800 of them, and they're specifically here for netting carp, of which they hope to get 50 tons alone from this lake, also pike and tench. It takes about 2 months to drain this out through a variety of sluices, so that they've got the shallow water here now to harvest the fish. It is one of the most beautiful sights I think I've ever seen. Once the fish are gathered, they are scooped up. Pike, tench and perch are removed to be stored separately, and then the carp are loaded into water tanks on trucks. 20 minutes later, they find themselves taking an undignified plunge into a new home. These are netted when they're between 3 and 4 years old, and they weigh between 3 and 3.5 kilos. They're dumped into this fresh water tank, and as they say in all the good old cliche things, bye now, because this is the last carp farm before the motorway. They will spend 3 or 4 days in these fresh water tanks to clean the mud out of their system and improve the taste. They are then ready for their final trip to the street corners of Prague, or in this case, straight into my hotel kitchen. Maybe for the Danes, the herring is the king of fish. For the Scots, it's the salmon. But for the Czechs, it's the carp. So I'm going to make a super carp dish in a red wine sauce with, and following the theme, some very sophisticated carp dumplings, which are going to be here. This is a basic pastry, butter, water, and flour, into which I'll add some chopped up, in fact ground in the mincer, carp, some little bits of finely chopped red spicy chili, again maintaining the paprika influence of Czech cooking, and some parsley. And I mix all that up, and then I roll it into flour to shape it, and then pop them into fish stock. And let them cook gently away. They won't take very long. Now, over here, going back with the theme, we've got the lovely smoked fatty bacon pieces, fried with some whole shallots. I'm now going to add some red wine to that and let that flame away. Curious dish this. Add to it a little bit of lovely beef stock.
Now, to my mind, although it is the delight of the Czechs, for me, the carp does need a good, strong sauce to go with it. So there we have our shallots, our baby onions, red wine, and beef stock. Take these ones out of here for the moment, put to one side. There's a reason for this, which is very simple, because those little bits are now nicely cooked. Then we add a little bit of tomato puree into there, stir that in, let that reduce and bubble around a tiny bit, and then to thicken it, I'm going to add some butter, which will whisk in like that. That's a delicious red wine sauce. Now, because we want to stay with our Eastern European theme, I'm going to add some chopped pickled beetroot into that sauce. Those of you who know a bit about old cooking, this is a kind of a Cumberland sauce, often served with pork chops in the Reform Club years and hundreds of years ago. Now we season that with pepper. That, as you can see, has thickened nicely, so we can now put our onions and bacon back into that. Okay, so we'll turn that one right off. I'll just bring my fish from over here, just very simply grilled in butter. And now all we do is pour my sauce over the fish. And of course, instead of a vegetable, we're going to serve that with the little carp quenelles. Sort of dish that monks have been cooking for 500 or 600 years.
So there you have it, grilled fillet of carp with red wine sauce and carp quenelle. A fitting dish to celebrate a wonderful morning with the fishermen of Trebon. In the centre of Prague, you'll find 12,000 gravestones crammed into a tiny area. For over 300 years, this was the only burial ground allowed for the Jews of the city. An estimated 100,000 people are buried here.
This extraordinary graveyard remains to this day because of a bizarre wish of Hitler's. He chillingly said he wanted this preserved as an exotic monument to an extinct race. Happily, his desires were never realized.
The Czech Republic has given us Franz Kafka, the influential writer, Eva Herzegova, who burst onto the modelling scene a few years ago, and of course Skoda cars. By European capital city standards, Prague is incredibly cheap and indeed very good value. A robust and hearty meal of dumplings and sweet dumplings and, oh yes, a bit of goulash and a bit of ham and an excellent pint of Czech beer will set you back the princely sum of £5.80. I'll drink to that. Anyway, I'm off in search of alternative fare. In the Czech Republic, it's traditional for country folk to keep a pig to celebrate the end of the harvest. The pig is slaughtered early in the morning and every part is used to make a selection of dishes to be eaten that night. So I've come to the picturesque village of Karlstein, famous for its imposing castle, to join the celebrations in the Hotel Korunia.
This is a gorgeous, wet autumn morning in the Czech Republic, with a pig hanging from a tripod, its blood dripping into a barrel underneath it, and a pot here bubbling away later on to receive bits of it. But it takes me back 50 years to my own childhood, when every farm around Wiliscombe each autumn would slaughter a pig so they could make bacon. They could make ham for Christmas. They could make sausages. They could make faggots out of the liver and the lovely fat which surrounds the liver, the caul, something which is, of course, completely illegal in England now because of the food police. And you can use the pig's trotters for making a rich, wonderful blood soup. So we're going to have a feast today, a big celebration of the pig. Because, as you know, with a well-butchered pig, there's nothing left but the grunt.
A sharp knife in the skilled and experienced hands of the local butcher Joseph makes the complicated art of butchery look like child's play. But making sausages entirely by hand is not kid stuff. Like lachenka, for example, which is made from chopped boiled meat, offal, fat, mixed with garlic, salt, dried herbs and black pepper. Or the white sausages, where Joseph adds fried onions, soaked white bread, chopped liver, garlic, ginger, coriander, dried herbs, salt, pepper and stock before hand stuffing them into the skins. or the black ones, more or less like the white, except that boiled pearl barley, pig's blood and caraway seeds are mixed in.
Now there is truly nothing left from a well-butchered pig. Here we've got some pearl barley which has been boiled in water. We have the remains of the pig's blood, and in here we've got the wonderful pork stock where all the pork, the fatty bits, the bones are all boiled up to make the sausages. The richest stock you'll ever find. But for this soup, it's too hot. So we have to add some cold stock just to cool it down a little bit. Right. Then we pour the blood onto the pearl barley and work that in. This, for you vegetarians, is a perfect dish because it has got natural wheat in it. And also, for those who don't like blood sports, this is called slaughter soup. Bloody marvellous, literally. That then we put in ladle by ladle and stir it round. This is an amazing lengthy soup. It takes about 3 hours. I'm not doing it quite right. I'm getting instructions from the head sausage maker. I must stir that round as we go, otherwise I shall curdle the soup. Those of you who remember classic French cuisine, things like jugged hare and coq au vin, the reason those sauces were so rich and delicious is that they were thickened with the blood of the animal that was used. Now this process gently carries on for about 3 hours, and I have other things to do. The joy of this particular little cooking sequence is I've been able to get this fabulous caul, which is the fat that surrounds the pig's liver. So using that, something you can't easily get in Britain anymore, I'm going to make some wonderful pork and liver balls to be roasted in the oven. So first of all, some ground or chopped up pork meat, some chopped up pig's liver, actually freshly slaughtered this morning. Into that we'll add some breadcrumbs, then some chopped onions, some fresh sage, very, very good with pork, some fresh parsley, and some dried mixed herbs. Then mix all these together. Then once they're nicely mixed, mould them into little balls, small ball, cricket ball sized, wrap it in this wonderful caul, snip it off. Once they're wrapped in the caul, put them in a baking tray which has got a little bit of water, because that'll help steam them and also ultimately help make the gravy that goes with them. And there you have it. So just wipe my hands off. So pleased about that. A quick slurp of this excellent Czech beer. And passes over to Sean to put into the oven. Thank you, Sean, very much indeed. Now here's another absolutely authentic Czech dish. Well, it's involving Czech ingredients anyway. Things like paprika, that lovely pig we killed today, and cream, chilies, tomatoes, and cabbage, above all cabbage. I've tried to stay away from choucroute because I actually find it very boring. So this is a poached pork in cabbage ball. What we have to do, whisk up a couple of eggs, like so, which is good. Into that we'll add some cream. Then I'll add some paprika and a little tomato puree. Chopped parsley, pop that straight in and whisk that round. Add some red hot chilies to make it quite spicy, in fact very spicy. Some garlic to make it very flavoursome. Into that we'll add some little pieces of tomato. And now I'll mix in all the meat, chopped ground pork. Mix it well together. Have a bit more of that, I think. And so it's not too runny and squeezes out of the cabbage leaves, I'll add some breadcrumbs. And then now into my little nest of cabbage leaves. The idea here is these little leaves, that's it, stay like that. Right, we put that in there, put its little bonnet on like that, fold over the leaves, tightly wrap it into cling wrap. The reason this dish is going to taste extra good is because it's going to be poached in the liquor that the whole pig was cooked in this morning to make the sausages and other things. There we are, perfect package. There you are, Sean. Catch, pop that into the stock. Thanks very much. I've been cooking and watching cooking around the world for a long, long time, but I have never seen such a gastronomic tour de force as I saw today when I watched the butcher make these fantastic sausages, totally by hand. The wonderful white meat sausages, the superb blood black pudding sausages, the blood soup, the slaughter soup, the galantine of pig's tongue and heart and pork meat, even the humble pork scratchings, the pig's head. And by the way, that tastes just as good as a leg of pork, it just looks ugly, that's all. And my own modest contribution, a kind of a faggot, minced pork and liver wrapped up and baked in caul. And then finally, my little attempt at a Czechoslovakian dish, stuffed cabbage with paprika-flavoured pork, spices and herbs, served with a cream and apple and paprika sauce. Let's see what the locals make of it. 10 hours to prepare and only 10 minutes to scoff the lot. The Czechs certainly know how to enjoy themselves. Prague is a fantastic city. It's lively, it's cheerful, and it's great fun. And whether you're a lagerlout and want to club till dawn and chat up some beautiful birds, or a sagerlout and want to walk around guide in hand, looking at the wonderful monuments, attending the fabulous concerts, or visiting the art galleries, this is the place for you.
The vets in Hong Kong have got their hands full. Next, over on Sky Travel. Here on Extra, meanwhile, it's Sky Travel Shop time.